So I think that what's interesting about history from the standpoint of history itself, not
Mm,
necessarily um, what's taught in school, because most of the things that are taught in school, regardless of subject, are incomplete.
mm,
Anyways, it's like how do you pass the test that gets you to the next grade, and
mm.
then how do you
Essentially.
pass the test that gets you into college,
Mm,
and then that's it. Like it doesn't actually matter what you learn as long as you can pass the test,
mm,
which is just it's just a like how our education system has ended up at this place is beyond me because it's not actually like
educate.
yeah, it just teaches you what you need to pass to like the people that have decided that that's what you need to know to pass the test, like
Mm,
that qualifies you as educated. It's like a very like who makes those decisions?
mm,
And so it's like I don't know, that's definitely a broader education question,
mm.
um for not just pertaining to black history but school in general.
Yeah.
And that was kind of
What
like
agenda drives it?
yeah, and that well agenda or just who, because like if you have somebody who got that job just because
Mm,
they know somebody
mm,
and they're not qualified anyways, they might not even have an agenda. They might just be bad at their job,
mm,
and that's not good either,
yeah.
obviously. But it kind of goes back to like when universities were first founded back in like you think about like ancient
Been
Rome and
around for a
stuff.
minute.
Yeah,
They're
but
old.
that's what those were for. It wasn't to
Mm,
pass a test. It was to learn. It was to learn like if you were in university in like in Europe or like ancient Rome or Greece, like you were supposed to learn about like the math of the time or the
mm,
science of the time or the history that like there was no, it was just like or like philosophy or like even when like UVA was founded or William and Mary or any of those like Harvard,
mm,
Cambridge, it was never like you need this test to get in or you need this
mm,
standardized. It was like the point was to teach. I
mm,
feel like we've lost a lot of that
mm,
in this sort of public education system that we're in because in an effort to standardize everyone because you need a degree to get a job
mm,
and people right, it makes sense. You want everybody to have access to that higher education, but at the same time then you need to standardize stuff. So somebody from California who wants to come here,
Virginia. Yeah.
like the tests are like the same. So
Mm,
and what that does is it lowers the standards of what
mm,
each like what you need
mm.
almost, and it does a disservice, I think.
Yeah, especially for like students who learn different ways. The idea of standardized tests in itself is kind of, someone creates the standard and says either you can pass this bar or not, dictates if you're educated, quote unquote, educated or not, and if you can, get 1,400 on your SAT, you can then make it into school because you're that educated enough.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, you can have someone who is probably one of the most creative people to walk this earth who cannot pass an SAT, who don't actually even need a formal education, who can go on. And that's one thing about the idea of entrepreneurs. Just not you like you don't in the digital age, especially today, and this kind of advances the topic a little bit. You don't really need a degree unless you're trying to get like a 9 to 5 job. If you have the drive, and this is
Or to become a teacher or a professor.
or to become a teacher. Because honestly, what do you do when you become a teacher professor? You assign things to learn.
Yeah.
First, most teachers are given, I forget exactly what it's called, but they have like their curriculum that they need to achieve by the end of the year, and
Mm-hmm.
have had their way that they can like apply that. But at the end of the day, a teacher is supposed to teach you things. A degree doesn't say that you learned it. That just means you passed the test to say that you learned it. I mean, even look at schooling today. With a lot of students going back virtually, a lot of you can find half of the things online. I forget which website was the biggest like common website um, in college where you can just find a bunch of answers to like multiple choice quizzes and
Well,
stuff.
like Quizlet and stuff.
Quizlet, yeah, exactly. So like imagine how many students are going into their either senior year or starting out high school or college, and that's the education that they're getting. It's like, I guarantee so many questions are being utilized on Quizlet. Um, and even if they weren't there, they're probably being created so that way students who are coming across those questions can now find it. So you can avoid all of that. Figure out you know, from A to Z, everything about a specific subject and become way more educated than even the person who may be teaching that subject
Mm-hmm.
degree without getting any type of formal education.